Let's go. Hello and welcome to a brand new episode of our Conscious Conversation series. I am your host, Antonia, and I'm delighted to have here with me Laura Davison. Laura is the principal of Aberdeen School of Shiatsu. She has been a director of the Shiatsu Society and is currently active on our education committee. And it's also an editor of the Shiatsu Society journal. And just before I press record, we've mentioned this and we realized how long has it been for Laura to be part of the Shiatsu Society journal. I'm not going to tell you anything about it yet. I would like to welcome you, Laura, and to invite you to say hello to everyone.
Hi, everyone.
Thank you so much for accepting our invitation to join us in this series. The Conscious Conversations are a series of live interviews with some of the most familiar names of the Shiatsu community, because we really want to find out different things from their story, from their journey with Shiatsu, and maybe discover some nuggets of wisdom along the way as well. So, Laura, let's go all the way back to the basics and discover, how has Shiatsu come into your life?
Oh my goodness. I I left university, got a job that I didn't really like, and then I got moved to areas I liked even less. I was really putting out for a good job. It's one thing that I learnt from my father. He really enjoyed his work. So having something that you really enjoy was important. With a friend, we'd written a list of all the different sort of things we could do, none of which were of any use at all, really. Um, but then I moved to working in a whole food shop. And so, okay, this was more fun. I enjoyed that. I was learning a lot about food. And I wasn't there very long when one of the customers came right round the back of the shop, sat down, started having his lunch. Who the hell are you? What are you doing? But what he told me to do was to come along to a shiatsu workshop. And even though I was quite disgruntled at him just sort of moving into our space, I duly went along. I was young. I thought I was healthy. At the end of that weekend, I felt so much better that it was bing, a little light came on. A group of us who went along to that first workshop started practicing with each other, moving around each other's lounges and spreading bodies all over the place, arguing about what we'd done, what we hadn't done. And not long after that, an evening class was set up. Someone else set it up. They were never there, but I was the one who turned up every evening. And once nobody was teaching it, so let's do this. Eventually, I decided it was my class. I might as well decide in advance what I was teaching. And off we went from there.
Oh, wow. I'm wondering, how old were you? Because it's so interesting to see the phase of life when shiatsu comes into the life of each practitioner.
I was in my mid-20s. I've been
Oh,
doing
wow.
shiatsu 43 years.
Wow, congratulations.
Wow,
I think it's
indeed.
such a great thing to have the opportunity to meet shiatsu, to encounter shiatsu at such an early age. And allow me to emphasize the way it has come into your life. I mean, we had someone coming into the shop and literally entertaining
Told me you've got to do this workshop, and foolishly I did in some way. But
That's wonderful.
it was just great. It was really great.
Yes.
So yeah, I've had a lot of different shiatsu influences over the years. At the time, macrobiotic shiatsu seemed to be the only one that was around, so that
Wow.
was where I started. Because there was a group of us, we got teachers up from the south to do weekends, so we had a steady stream of new information coming in. And then there was a workshop in Edinburgh with Pauline Sasaki. And she crammed her 5-day residential into a weekend in Edinburgh. Absolutely blew our minds. And it was just like, wow. It was several years later before I discovered that she was coming over regularly. And by the time I went to one of her workshops down south, the style that she'd showed us in Edinburgh, everyone looked at us, what's she doing? What I was doing looked really odd, but of course I'd learnt it from Pauline. She, oh, no, no. She said, that's okay. Because at the time you did the HARA diagnosis, you treated the whole body from sitting at that same position,
Oh,
which
wow.
you need to be flexible in order to do, but it is a possibility. So there we go. She's been another major influence on me.
How wonderful. I wonder what made Shiatsu so special for you. When was the moment you were hooked?
I think that very first weekend, I
Very
felt
first weekend.
so much better after that first weekend that was what really did it. I suppose another changing point, I was given a free place at a conference at Finton, the Spirit of Healing.
Wow.
And there were loads of really interesting people doing workshops. And they said if you wanted to offer anything, you could put it up on the board. So I put up Shiatsu. So in between every workshop, I was treating people like crazy. So I was just busy, 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 busy. And while I was there, I thought I could do this for my living. As soon as I came home, I had strangers phone me up. So it was, I hadn't put out any advertising. I hadn't told anyone previously. I'd been teaching the evening classes and treating people who came to evening classes.
Mhm.
But to have strangers suddenly coming along was a complete change. And it was like, wow, the universe was telling me this is what you have to do. And it was some time later at one of the meetings at the whole food shop, I was sort of back here behind myself and I heard myself resigning. And I'm thinking, oh my God, I can't afford to do that. But you need to make the space in order for things to change. So once I'd resigned that job, I had to be busier. And yeah, I was. More people turned up. It just got on a roll, really.
I,
Once I got Shiatsu just took me along, really.
I love that you mentioned that because sometimes it feels as if it's a bigger force than you pulling you towards the right direction.
Absolutely.
And if you just let the
Absolutely.
mind get out of the way,
Yes,
things just
yeah,
start to naturally unfold.
absolutely. And after doing the evening classes for years, then suddenly, I did get people who became practitioners just from doing the evening classes because being me, I wanted to put everything in. So we'd move through all sorts of weird stuff that some people think, well, why are we doing this? And well, yep, it's part of the curriculum. So then setting up the school and teaching through the school, which, then the evening classes sort of faded out a little bit and the school became the main focus.
That's so wonderful to hear. And I don't want to miss out on the fact that you've mentioned your father and how important it is to enjoy what you do. I
Mm-hmm.
think that passion is at the core of many of the shiatsu practitioners that I've had conversations with, and hearing
Absolutely.
your story, like being determined to find something that you enjoy and then creating the space for those things to show up in your life.
Yes.
Kind of sounds like your journey was a little bit more easy than what the mind would prepare someone to go
Well,
into.
yeah. Speaking about it now, it sounds easy. It may not have been quite that easy as
I
you
can
as you
imagine.
working
Yeah.
through it. Yes,
I can imagine. Yeah.
yeah, it certainly came and grabbed me. So I think that preparatory, I want to do an interesting job. I'd sent it out there and the spirit was listening and spirit came along. And being up in Aberdeen, I mean, I'm so far away from, so many people in London. They had the East West Centre. There was a lot of focus down there. I'm miles away from all of that. It was many years before anyone told me about the Shiatsu Society. People came up for a weekend, they taught, they cleared off. And yeah, I can't even remember who it was who told me, but eventually someone said, oh, there's an organization. And it's like, oh, there's an organization, right? I'll join that then.
Probably you've made a bit more space into your life for that to come as well. And I find that incredibly wonderful, even though you mentioned that it's in a remote area. And
Yeah.
there were many links with one, the Shiatsu Society, and two, with the Shiatsu community of that time.
Yes. Yeah,
Yet
we had
it
we
stayed
had our
here.
own little community up
Yeah.
here. And that was great, because that feeds you, really.
Yeah.
If it was just me who got really enthused by that one weekend, then it probably wouldn't have gone anywhere.
I
But
can imagine.
yeah.
Is that what makes Shiatsu so special for you? Is it the sense of community, or is it more to that?
Oh, the sense of community is very important. I've done other therapies, but I never feel quite as involved with the whole group as I do with Shiatsu. Some
Mm-hmm.
of it's, it's a bit over to one side. But the depth of the relationship when you're working with someone,
Mm-hmm.
um, people come with all sorts of different things going on, and some you're there to do a treatment, and they hold you at a bit of a distance. Other people really open up, and you can go all sorts of different places with that, and it's just being open to whatever they bring to the treatment, and being able to run with that, really, which is just fantastic. It really is.
I can only imagine being able to hold space for people that come with so many layers of anything that's going on in their lives.
Yes.
And I do like to hear this relational side of the treatments, because that's one thing that it gets emphasized quite a lot with other Shiatsu practitioners as well. And I think that it's one thing that it's worth mentioning for someone who's just coming to Shiatsu for the first time, that it's more than just a massage, it's more than just a treatment, it's more than just sitting in a position and allowing someone to do something for you. On the contrary. And I'm wondering, how would you describe Shiatsu to someone who's just
Oh, this
stepping
is
into the door?
that endless conundrum, isn't it? Um, I don't mind the term massage,
Okay.
although there's little bits of it can be a bit massagey, but it's a link word that people understand.
Okay.
Body work, yes, it's body work, but body work is usually something that happens to your car when it needs sorting out. Um, the A lot of people, if they come, feel they have to have a physical reason for coming along,
Okay.
but it's a lot more than a physical. It's really tricky.
Mm-hmm.
A lot of my descriptions will depend on what I can link with the person, who's coming along. You can have electrical systems, you can have plumbing systems, there's all sorts of different analogies you can make, just to get that energy moving and begin to make a change.
Mm-hmm.
I mentioned it to someone recently who was in a particularly grumpy mood. I said, right, come and have a shiatsu. That'll get your energy moving. And where's it going to go? He said. And it's like, aha. We don't know where it's going to go, but it needs to move. It's like that emotion. Emotions need to move.
Mm-hmm. So it's all about that energy being in motion. And I like the fact that you make sure the definition of Shiatsu contains the essence, but at the same time becomes flexible to make
Yeah.
sure that you can relate to the person that just steps into the door. So the
Yeah.
example that you've mentioned with the person asking you, where is it going to go?
Yeah.
Don't know. Let's find out together, though.
Let's find
That's
out.
an invitation.
Let's
That's an
find out.
invitation.
Yes, it is an invitation for, something to change. There's space for something to change here.
Mm-hmm.
Are you going to allow it to go? What happens next?
One thing that I really love about Shiatsu, even though I'm not a Shiatsu practitioner, and many in the community may know this, is that it's such a holistic practice.
Yes.
It takes care of the mind, it takes care of the body, it takes care of the emotions, and at the same time, it takes care of the spirit. If you like to go in the spiritual side of it, this is something that attracts me the most. Like stepping
Yeah.
into the door and knowing that there's going to be an opening for something to unravel itself. I find that extraordinary.
Yes. Yes.
Since you've given this example with your client, I'm wondering if we go down this route, obviously with consideration to the confidentiality of the client, are there any significant moments throughout your career that have stayed with you?
Oh gosh. It's been so long. One of my clients at the beginning, she knew something wasn't right, but just she couldn't express herself at all. There, her energy was low. She, whatever she said, there wasn't anything that made any great sense or what was going on. And but she kept coming back. And then at some point, everything really did a sudden flip in her life. And she could explain her situation. She could explain what was going on. And she then had the energy to do something about it and really change her life. And she really blossomed from that point. And it was so amorphous at the beginning that I really didn't know what you were working with or what was going on. Just sort of low energy ME was about as much as you could contain it. But the way whatever she said was just in a big fog. And the transformation in her was amazing.
Mhm.
That was really, really good.
I hear this theme of stuckness, stuck energy, blockage, maybe having a low type of energy, even with the client that you've mentioned before.
Yes.
Do you believe that this is one of the greatest impact that Shiatsu has in working with people?
Oh, absolutely. Yes. Yes. So many people are stuck in their lives. And what can you do to get out of that stuckness? And not enough people would consider coming for body work as
Mhm.
as part of the ability to move on in that respect. And it comes in at a different, I suppose a lot more people would think of counselling,
Mhm.
to see what's going on in their lives. But shiatsu, you don't have to speak about stuff in that sort of way. The centre that I work from is just down the road from a mental hospital, and we get a few people wandering in. And there's people there that they always feel very challenged by the psychotherapists. And, I had one lady, and, she just said something really tiny, and then she just looked up, and it's like, oh, you've just said something really big to me there, and you're checking, did I hear it? Because a lot of stuff can happen in our lives, and explaining it, you don't want to go through it all again, but you can just give a little tiny hint. And if the person can pick that up, it's like, oh, okay, I see you. And then your approach can change because you know why they're there, what they're coming to deal with. So that's another client that sticks up.
I'm glad that you mentioned that, because one of the questions that keeps popping in my mind is how can we take this wonderful holistic practice that Shiatsu is and raise more awareness around it. So when you mentioned that many people feel stuck, there's a sense of blockage, low energy, they want to be seen. I really think it's important for the public to know these things. Yes, counseling and psychotherapy and many other modalities are just as useful, but
Yes,
Shiatsu can be
yes,
a great complementary therapy where you co-create a space with a practitioner and you
yeah,
allow yourself on one hand to be seen using this example that you
yes,
just mentioned.
yeah, absolutely, absolutely. It's maybe a hard one to approach from a selling point of view, but yeah, it can be so powerful in those areas. It really can.
True. And at the same time, I admire the person who stepped into the local shop that you were working in. And he just
Yes.
said, come and get a shiatsu session.
Yeah, come
Join
and
the shiatsu workshop. That's
that's
one
my
way of
job.
getting people
You
to,
must do this.
yeah.
Yeah. Yes.
Well, it worked. It worked. Look at this
Yeah.
wonderful career that you've built throughout the years.
Yes. Yeah. Yeah. He was a great person to gather people in. That was what, he knew something was good, but he couldn't lead it himself, but he was one that led people into that path.
I get the impression that you do something similar with an open heart and with a bit more gentleness.
Well, we attract people in different ways, don't we? And I can't get out there and tell people what to do in the way that some folk do, but sure, just you experience things.
Yeah,
Give it a
you're right
go.
about that. That's wonderful. Let's go to the other side of the spectrum if you're feeling comfortable with that. Again, considering the confidentiality of your patients, were there any difficult moments? And in case you can identify any of them, how did you overcome them?
Oh, um, well, I worked at a cancer charity for 8 years,
Wow.
so you're working with people who may feel that their life is in danger. So, they're in a very vulnerable place, and they may not be able to work on them in the normal positions. You have to
Mhm,
work on them in a different way. Um, Whatever the doctors think is the worst thing going on for them, they might be more concerned with more minor things. That's the bit that is causing them more problems in their life, whether it's insomnia, digestive upsets. You're coming in at a different angle that is making their life better.
mhm,
um, I I have an example that isn't one of mine. Someone else who also worked at the same place. And a guy came in, he was in so much pain that he fell off the chair onto the floor.
mhm,
And it's like pain points. And
mhm,
it's just like, what points can we press just to get that pain level down so this
mhm.
guy can get out of the room and feel better? And he did. He did. So you have a huge panoply of knowledge that's there, and
Mhm.
it's finding the right thing to apply at the right time.
I'm so grateful that you've mentioned this example because I think it's important to emphasize the training that shiatsu practitioners go through in order to be able to handle this type of situations.
Yeah.
There's a lot of misinformation out there, and I've noticed this recently as well with people taking like 2 days courses to become a shiatsu practitioner, whereas whereas the actual profession itself takes a minimum of 1,000 hours of study and practice. And
Yeah.
maybe you can tell me even more about this, knowing that you're the principal of the Aberdeen School of Shiatsu and you have such a vast knowledge when it comes to it.
There is so much information that you need to absorb, both sort of anatomy, physiology, pathology.
Mhm,
People come with some funny condition. What is it?
mhm,
And hopefully you know enough about different conditions, but there's so
mhm,
many of them. It may be something obscure that you've never heard of before.
mhm,
It's having the humility to say, oh, what's that? How does that affect you? If you don't know, you need to find out. And often clients, if they've seen the doctor, they can start sprouting doctor's terms, which again, sometimes they disappear over your head.
mhm.
But knowing the associations of the meridians, the points that will fix certain conditions, there is a huge array of knowledge that you learn over the years. It's really good doing treatments in class, just so as people will realize that clients may burst into tears. They they may have reactions to the treatment.
Mhm.
um, just how sensitive some people can be to points. Whereas others will let you really go in very deep, and they want that deep pressure. So you have to be adaptable.
Mhm.
You really have to be adaptable to, if there's something jointy going on, how can you get in there and explore that joint? See what's going on. Sometimes you've got to invent a technique off the top of your head because nothing that seems to just be getting into this person at this point in time. So there's that confidence in yourself just to find something new to do at this point in time and say, oh yes, that's got it now. So yeah, the knowledge is vast, and working with people and receiving treatment is very important. So as you can really feel the depth of what's going on there.
Yeah, I hear that there's a need for structure and a lot of experience in order to do that. So you need to have your foundation set with
Yes.
the knowledge and with the professional experience, and then to have enough confidence to observe, to be aware of what's happening in the moment, and then allow yourself to adjust based on what's happening in the interaction with the
Yeah.
client. Another question popped into my mind regarding the classes and the treatments. For someone that doesn't know what Shiatsu is, how would you make the difference between a Shiatsu class, what is a Shiatsu class, and the Shiatsu treatment itself?
The treatment is very specific to the individual and
Okay.
specific to the individual each time they come. Some people, the diagnosis may stay fairly similar, so then the treatment doesn't move as much. Other people, it changes all the time. I've got a client at the moment who, the first time, she was like, ooh, ooh, ooh. Every point was so sore. And it said, it's not going to stay like that. And I was working gently on her, but everything was so sensitive. And it's got lighter, it's got easier. Last week, it was a different meridian. I'd been moving around a few different meridians, but suddenly I found a new one that was really, ooh, 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 again.
Similar pattern, different place.
So she said, so I looked, I said, oh, I've never worked this meridian before. So some people, you're going through the whole set of meridians. It's like you're going through all the different skins of an onion. So yes, it varies hugely. And I've lost your question somewhere.
Okay, I'm going to come back to it. So this is the Shiatsu treatment.
The Shiatsu
What
treatment,
happens in a
right?
Shiatsu class?
In a class, what you're doing is a lot more general in a class. You're doing exercises on yourself, the do in. You might be doing some qigong to help you become more aware of energy. If we're doing some work on each other, we might be learning a meridian. We might be learning stretches, which may or may not be what you need the most. But it's exploring your body and exploring other people's bodies. So you're learning about yourself and you're learning about others. And sometimes the focus of that class is going to hit in to you a lot stronger than others.
So I'm hearing that a class it's a bit more general, whereas the treatment is customized to the needs of the individual.
Yes.
And both of them can be diverse and unique. But maybe a class could be an entry point for someone who is not ready to experience a treatment.
Yeah.
Or if someone already has a specific goal or outcome in mind, they can go directly for a treatment. Thank you so much for explaining that to me, because I'm wondering.
Okay. And often clients are ones that decide, oh, they want to learn more about this. One of my teachers at the moment, she was a guinea pig for a student years ago. And, having received a treatment, oh, I need to learn this. So there is an interchange between the two, which is really nice.
I suspect that this is how my Shiatsu path will unfold as well. So I'm loving these conversations because there's so much to learn and there's so many approaches, and I really appreciate all the examples that you've given me. Just before I press record, I mentioned at the beginning of the conversation that I've had a look of some of your experience with the Shiatsu Society journal, and I'm wondering if you want to tell me a bit more about that. You've mentioned that you've been involved in the journal for about 20 years now.
That's my first edition of the journal. I dug through all my old copies in 2005. So I've been an editor for 20 years. I would never have said, I knew it had been a while, but I wouldn't have got to 20 years if you'd asked me. It took a lot of rummaging going back further and back further. Oh my goodness, my first issue. When I applied to be an editor of the journal, it was just a random application. I wasn't expecting to be accepted. So it's been a delight, and it's been good fun to do that. I was a director of the Shiatsu Society for a while. I'm on the education subcommittee. So I'm in and out in a few different places. That's part of the community, I think, as well. It's nice to feel involved. It's something I care about, and so it's really nice to help the organisation as well. Shiatsu's very good because it is a membership organisation. Some therapists' organisations aren't membership organisations, but it's like somebody is running it. And so, you know, then someone's making a profit out of you being a member, and you're not necessarily gaining the same thing from those sorts of organisations.
When did you become a Shiatsu Society director?
Oh God, I didn't look that one up.
That's okay. I'm just
been
wondering.
Before 2005. I certainly did that prior. So that happened afterwards.
I don't need the exact dates, don't worry at all.
Oh.
I'm thinking more in terms of going back in time and imagining how the Shiatsu Society was then. What is the difference between what was happening at that time and what's happening now, from your perspective?
I think there was a fair bit of chaos at that point in time. I came in as treasurer, knowing a bit about finances, having done a degree in economics. So you see, it leads you on this crooked path. So my job was to get the Shiatsu Society VAT registered and actually paying tax, and we're looking at the idea of whether it became a charity or not, and that was one that was rejected. So there was a lot of catching up from people who'd done the job but didn't really know what they were doing, and it had sort of just drifted into an area where we need to organise this. So it was getting more organised, becoming more professional. And it's an endless job because they are still doing the same things now.
Yes, but I think you've created a massive impact because things are more organized now and more professional. I mean, here we are talking about everything.
I'm not sure how big an impact it was just me had on that. That was a little bit from me, maybe, but it builds impetus.
I can appreciate that. And shortly after, you became one of the editors of the Shiatsu Society Journal. This is such a valuable resource that I've had the pleasure to browse through. So I went all the way back to editions of 2012. And Elaine, our fellow colleague, she showed me some of the early editions, and I'm very, very happy to hear that you have this edition as well. We also had Dinah showing some old editions as well. Why would you think that someone should read the Shiatsu Journal?
Oh, just to hear what different people are up to. Even more important, write something. As an editor, it's really nice to hear what different people are up to. When you're doing whatever you're doing in your Shiatsu field, you know, you think everyone's doing the same, but they're not. You can have areas of specialism that means you've got a lot of information that you can pass on to other people, whether you're combining things with your Shiatsu, whether there's special groups that you work with, you know, something that interests you and just draws you in further. So it's great to read what other people are up to. It's even better to write about what you're up to. So that's my journalist and editor thing.
I appreciate that.
I'm nervous about putting stuff into print, but that's our job as editors to, you know, you give us your best effort and we can help you polish it should that be needed.
I'm so grateful you mentioned that, because Shiatsu Society Journal seems to be a place where different voices from the Shiatsu community are heard. I mean, you can put them on paper. And as far as I know, I may be wrong if I don't have the right information. The Shiatsu Society Journal is the only Shiatsu magazine in the UK. So it's an opportunity for for
Yes.
people to join in, have their voice heard, and at the same time read about different parts of the community they may not be aware of.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Bill Palmer did have a journal that was going for a few years, but that was a long time ago. I haven't dug out that one to see how old that is. But it's an important part of nourishing your practice is to read what other people are doing, even if they're recommending a couple of points or focusing your attention on a spiritual aspect of a meridian. It helps to nourish your practice. And it's like, oh, I'll try that.
Wonderful.
As an editor, I get to read, reread, reread. You do the same articles over and over and over again, looking for spelling mistakes and grammar and punctuation and everything. And you take it in deeper and deeper and deeper. I would highly recommend rereading articles, and you get a lot more out of it through rereading them. A quick shoot, you've read it away, you're missing a lot. So yes, that's my advice. Reread stuff and you'll find there's a lot more in there than you think.
How wonderful. And from a practical aspect, rereading or reading the journal also contributes to the continuous personal development
Absolutely.
that all of the practitioners would have to go through.
Absolutely, yes.
Thank you. Thank you for mentioning that, and thank you for your contribution in the journal and the impact that you've created into the society. I'm wondering if we are to visualize into the future a little bit, what are your hopes for Shiatsu in the UK? And we can expand beyond the UK as well.
Oh, well, things go in waves. There's peaks and troughs. I hope we're coming into another upsurge at the moment. There's new folk seem to be in tune with all these new ways of advertising things and promoting stuff that, I'm kicking and screaming and slowly being drawn into. I'm hoping someone else will do it for me, but maybe I have to do it myself. But it's getting word out there. Initially, you wrote a poster, you photocopied it, you shoved it up in a few places, people turned up. These days, that doesn't work quite as well. You've got to do other things. And so younger people being involved who are au fait with all these newfangled things. God, I'm sounding like an old person now, aren't I?
No, you're not. You're not the first one to say these things.
But it is different ways of putting stuff out there.
Yeah.
So people can become aware of it, so they can be attracted in and just discover what it is. It's change has to come from us within ourselves individually. We can do all politics and fighting out there for change, but the change has to happen from within. So, you're lying on the floor, it's the start of the revolution. In some ways, it changes your life, and as your life changes, that changes the lives of people around you, and that has a ripple effect. That feels like it's something that is very much needed at the moment, to coming back to yourself, to what is real.
I really love that you said lying on the floor is the start of a revolution.
That's outrageous, isn't it?
That's a really good tagline. But I know I do get your insight in terms of the fact that change needs to come from the inside. And the more we focus on this to begin with, the more we're going to have that ripple effect that you've expressed in the last few things that you said. And at the same time, there are different ways of putting yourself out there. So you've mentioned initially needing to put a poster and wait and people would just turn up to the classes. And at a certain point in our conversation, you've mentioned the need to create space. So when we're thinking about marketing, maybe one step to move forward is to create a big space and then to see what can be the equivalent of that poster. It doesn't have to be all social media platforms, doing everything that everyone else tells you. It can be just one to start with.
Yes.
And you
Yeah.
made enough space in your life for that. Thank you for reflecting that. Lying on the floor is the start of a revolution. I think many people will relate to this. I
Yeah,
certainly
there
relate to
you go.
this. Any hopes for the Shiatsu Society?
Oh,
How would
to
you like to see
continue
changes
to
happening?
grow and continue to bloom. There's been times when it's been more fractious
Hmm.
in the past,
Hmm.
and it seems to be working together very well and involving everyone. And I'm very pleased to see that.
I'm glad to hear that as well. Um, I'm conscious of your time and I'm really enjoying our conversation, but I would have a final question for you if you feel you have the space for it. And again, I'm thinking of someone who's just starting their shiatsu journey. What would you tell a practitioner that is considering taking the shiatsu path as a profession?
Go for it. Just go for it. You know, it is great. It is fantastic. If money is your main goal in life, it may not satisfy that.
Hmm.
Though I've heard rumours that there are shiatsu practitioners who are VAT registered, though I've never discovered who they are. But the satisfaction you get from the change that you see in people is the best. It really is the best. And for an hourly rate of pay, it's pretty damn good. You can work less hours, so you've got more time to do other things.
Hmm.
So it's having the courage to dare.
Having the courage to dare. I like that.
Yeah. I mean, when I started, because I was working in a whole food shop, I cut down my days there, which was
Hmm.
only ever 4 days a week. So I had more time for shiatsu. So, you know, it made it an easier step
Hmm.
for me. If you've got a full-time job and some jobs demand many, many hours from you, then it doesn't give you as much space
Hmm.
to find a place to start shiatsu. Um, After COVID, more part time work seems to be possible.
Hmm.
So maybe that's an edge that can nudge people into doing something about it. But for job satisfaction, it is the best. May not be for everyone, but yeah, go for it.
And be brave enough to take the leap of faith. I really love this.
It is a leap of faith in some ways, but you know, ooh, if you want to offer that, yes, just make the space and have the space for people to come and lie down and feel the change in their bodies.
Yeah. And start the revolution.
Start the revolution. Yay.
Thank you so much, Laura. This has been such an insightful conversation, and I've learned so many things from you. I really appreciate your time, your energy, your resources, and the fact that you've accepted our invitation.
Thank you. It's been lovely speaking with you.